Hey everyone, I've got a layout update today finally. So, been making some progress. I got all my track in, got most of my switches, got my diamond here as well in. So, those are all the kind of things I've been waiting on, and I got a lot of track down. So, I wanted to update on the design. I talked about this previously in a couple videos ago as far as what I was doing, but this is pretty much what I've decided in terms of the final layout. So as mentioned before, I've got the double main with this kind of siding that comes off here, and then this siding actually feeds all the industries. So I'm going to have 4 industries in this layout. First one over here, and then a bigger one over here. I'll talk about this in more detail in probably a future video. This is going to be a chemical distribution center. The actual prototype for this is PBS Knollwood Chemicals. It's a chemical company here in Detroit, Michigan, and there's some neat features to it. I'm actually pretty excited to model that. I can't do it exactly just due to its size, but it should be pretty interesting there anyway. And then I'm going to have 2 industries here in the back. Got some ideas on those, still deciding ultimately what they'll be. But the idea here is that basically, you know, these little spurs coming off feeding the industries. This one comes off here and it feeds the chemical plant. And then it goes back here, and I've kind of got a switch back that I can then use to get to these back industries. But I've got 2 switches here as well that allow me to circle the engines around the cars, so I can do some work back there. But due to the size of the layout, there's some limitations back here. For instance, this little spur right here, this isn't actually to scale, but it's this one back there, the first one feeding behind that blue building. You can only fit a locomotive in 2 cars. Or 3 cars if you squeeze them in, just enough room, like 40 footers in there. So that'll kind of keep things interesting in terms of, you know, pulling cars in and what I can serve back in these industries here. So we'll make it kind of fun. You know, the actual switching operations and stuff like that should be pretty interesting doing it. So back to the layout here, I've got the diamond, which I was waiting for, back in place, and then I had to rip up a bunch of track as well to you know, basically redo my redesign. And this track over here, lesson learned, when I put it down, I was using a silicone caulk to put it down there, and that track pretty much bonded directly to the plywood. As you can see, I pretty much had to rip up most of the wood to get that off there. So while using that on cork was fine, it comes up very nice, you know, on the actual cork road bed. No more. I'm just using standard Elmer's glue now for now on putting track down. So you know, I position it, get all lined up, glue it down just with a thin layer of the Elmer's glue, and then I've got all these just random pieces of aluminum and steel back here. I use as weights to set in the track until it sets up after a couple hours to make sure it sticks down. And that's what I've done for everything back here. A couple low spots I had in this region, just trying to level things out that I didn't see initially. So just trying to make everything a little bit, you know, nicer. And since besides that, I've really just been testing the cars, testing the track. So just running, you know, basically this group of cars right here I kind of use just for testing track in terms of the wheels that I have on there. I've got a couple different wheel sets. So Chicago Northwestern car. This one, I don't actually know what the make of the wheels are on there, but they've got really thin flanges. Not sure if that shows up in camera that well or not. So it's a good test for your track, because if that one derails, you're probably going to have most of the other wheels derail as well. Then this car here has got micro engineering wheels, and this is on probably 2/3 of my rolling stock fleet. And this is the scale version of the wheels. I forget what they're actually called in terms of their naming, but they're thinner. So if you can see there, they're not as wide as normal wheels. So again, track spacing and all your track layout in terms of putting it down is really important with those wheels, because you know, these wheels will actually fall in between rails if you don't have all your spacing and everything just right. So that's another good car to test. Then the LNN here, I've just got standard micro engineering wheels on there. So between these 3 and rolling around the layout, I'm testing track pretty well, making sure everything is in there really good. So this little part here I'm still working on, just getting the bends right and stuff like that, and positioning it over so I've got kind of where I want it. This is going to be that chemical industry, so I want a lot of actual layout space here in terms of room to put down buildings and storage tanks, everything else with that, because like I said, I'm pretty excited about that. That'll probably be one of the first industries that I start doing some scenery for. And then in the back, just waiting on, got one more switch coming so I can finish that section there that I saw in the drawing, and then get everything finished back here. And then this last little spur and I'll be done. Another interesting thing is rail joiners. So I've had a terrible time with rail joiners in terms of getting track together. So there's the standard rail joiners, the Atlas ones for code 83 or 100 that you have here, and they're fine except for on the microengineering track, because that actually has a lot less smaller profile on the rails itself. I don't know if that'll show up here. I'll probably have to take a picture, but it's smaller than the Atlas track in terms of the way that goes. So I've got to crimp all these down to make it work really well with the microengineering track. So I do have microengineering code 83 rail joiners as well, but these are too small. These won't fit onto the Atlas code 83 switches. So I actually have to bend those open to make them. But those are some really nice small joiners there. And then I've got the Pico joiners too for code 83. And these are good, except for I'm in the same situation with the microengineering track. They're still too big. I've got to crimp it down for those. So the actual best joiners I found were made by Shinohara, and because essentially Shinohara is no more, Walters took them over a long time ago. This is one of them here, and I really like them because they have on the sheet metal, they're actually formed a little bit to show kind of the four little bolts there, hold your track joiners together, which is kind of nice. But these work really well both with the microengineering and the Atlas track. So unfortunately, I found one person on eBay that had one bag of them left out of everywhere. That's the only place I can find them. So I bought them, probably paid too much for them too. But I only need a handful more for the back section here to complete everything up, because I've been using them pretty much all through the layout for everywhere. And they work with the track really well, and I just think they look really nice. Once all this is weathered up to match the rest of the microengineering weather track, then they'll look really good in there. But so just waiting on those two to get in. And that's kind of the last thing, and I'll have all the track done. So track work is probably one of my least favorite things of doing this, but it's almost there, 2/3 the way done, so I'll be happy to get that completed. And then I can finally start running some trains, which I'll be happy. So with all this track too, I've been running my locomotives, pushing the cars through again, looking for derailments, just making sure everything's perfect, including the big 6-axle locomotives, SD45s, SD50s, and they're making it back through all of this just fine, which is great. So super happy about that. But that's it. Just kind of rambling on, but that's all I've got updated for now. So next video I'm going to actually be running my SD45 with that Tsunami 2 decoder in it. It sounds so good. I've got it all back together now, so I'll finally be running the train with that. And then on the next layout update, I should finally have all the track done, so I can actually, for the first time, do just without any scenery or anything like that, but be able to actually just start doing some switching, which will be fun. So anyway, hope this is interesting, and thanks for watching.